The dream catchers were an extension of Hecate and were her representatives in public. Thus, for fourth dream to be seen in such an embarrassing state, she felt like she had stained Hecate's image. Of course, fourth dream also felt terrible about her own situation. After all, she was a chaste and unwed maiden, and yet, she had been caught in such an embarrassing and depraved act. Even her most private places were seen by others. Fourth dream felt like her life had been ruined, and death was her only escape. Swish! Just when fourth dream thought about killing herself, Vaan appeared by her side, undressed and in the nude. She was immediately surprised by his sudden approach and exposing appearance. However, Vaan knew almost no shame. Thus, he wasn't embarrassed to be in front of fourth dream in his birthday suit, especially when she and the other two dream catchers had already spied on his intimate acts for days. Sir Vaan, what are you? If you dislike it, you can resist. Vaan suddenly grabbed fourth dream's wrist and pulled her into a spatial leap, taking her elsewhere and away from everyone else. They went to a far and secluded location before he erected another rock chamber to hide them from the open environment. When fourth dream saw his action, her chest quickly thumped with a quickened heartbeat, and her cheeks reddened intuitively. She seemed to have guessed Vaan's intention, yet she didn't seem to have any resistance against it. Why that was the case, she had yet to figure out in her confused state. As I said, Lady Fourth Dream, if you don't like it, you can resist. Sir Vaan, you. Fourth Dream wasn't given much time to respond. After Vaan cleaned his body with the fire law, water law, and wind law, he immediately went on the attack, softly nibbling Fourth Dream's ear and undressing her with his hands. An electrifying sensation ran through her body, causing her pores to open up. Vaan followed up by targeting her erogenous zones and stimulating her acupoints, increasing her sensitivity to pleasure. At the same time, his head moved down her pristine and fairy-like body before sucking on her white rabbits. A joyful cry escaped Fourth Dream's lips before she covered her mouth with both hands in embarrassment. She wanted to ask why Vaan was doing such things to her. After he finished conditioning her delicate and fair body, a pleasant, flower-like feminine scent was exuded from it. In that instant, Fourth Dream's body instinctively tightened in shock. However, she did not refuse Vaan's advances. Instead, her hands unconsciously gripped his chiseled, manly body, pulling him closer as she sank her head into his left shoulder. His manly scent and body heat were easily transmitted to her, causing her to become increasingly intoxicated and in a hazy state of mind. In that instant, Vaan could feel Fourth Dream's body quaking with uneasiness and uncertainty. However, there was also a bit of anticipation mixed in her apprehensive feeling. Nevertheless, Vaan had no intention of stopping. The only way to stop Fourth Dream's thoughts from traveling further down the line of suicide was to confuse her with even greater shock. Honestly speaking, Vaan had other ways of going about it. Yet, his first thought was that he had to make love to her. It had to be an occupational habit. Yes, that had to be it. There definitely weren't any ulterior motives in mind. NNGN. Quivering with pleasure from time to time uncontrollably. He would see a gush of love nectar pour out of her flower cave each time. At that point, Fourth Dream's face was permanently buried in Vaan's left shoulder, not. Fourth Dream weakly cried as Vaan plunged his stiff dragon deep into her lonely and ancient dragon cave, tearing apart the old cobwebs impeding its path. Pain and pleasure intertwined as Fourth Dream felt an indescribable sense of fulfillment. It was unlike anything she had felt up until now. She felt the joy of the woman. At the same time, her dull eyes sparkled with enlightenment. She suddenly realized she didn't want to die at all. She only thought of death's escape because she was afraid of facing the future consequences of her actions. She didn't want to see her mistress's disappointment, nor did she want to see people's disgust and Sir Vaan's rejection. Very least, she felt desired and wanted. Sir Vaan desired her and didn't reject her despite what she did behind his back. As such, Fourth Dream gained some courage to brave the future. Her sweet voice became increasingly tender and erotic as she immersed herself in the wonderland of pleasure. No longer did Fourth Dream think about ending her life. Vaan had quite literally fucked the suicidal thoughts out of her. Although Vaan no longer saw the dark clouds of death reflected in Fourth Dream's eyes, he figured it would be a pity if he ended their moment of passion just like that. It wasn't every day that he got a chance to enjoy a divine-ranked dark fairy, let alone one that was a chaste maiden. Vaan soon pulled Fourth Dream away from the wall and laid down, saddling her on top of him. The sudden change of position immediately brought forth great confusion and embarrassment to Fourth Dream as she felt openly exposed. At least when she was pressed against the wall, she had Vaan's body covering her. But now, she had nowhere to hide. Vaan was granted a full view of her vulnerable body. Furthermore, he grasped both her wrists, firmly placing her hands on his bare chest. As such, she couldn't escape either. Sir Vaan, this is too embarrassing. Can we on? The change of position sent an entirely new sensation coursing through her lewd and sensitive body, adding more colors to the wonderland of pleasure. It was like enjoying her favorite food with a different set of seasoning. It was still the same food, but the change of flavor ensured she wouldn't get sick of it. HNNGG. As Vaan continued to thrust his hips, Fourth Dream gave up all thoughts of escape and accepted her predicament. With her mind sinking further and further into the abyss of carnal pleasure. Nevertheless, Vaan eventually released his hold of Fourth Dream's wrists and shifted his hands to her hips, guiding them to shake on top of him. Fourth Dream's face reddened with embarrassment, but she quickly accepted her new role. She proactively shook her hips like she was taught by Vaan. At first, she was still shy and hesitant. However, she quickly acclimated with confidence and boldness in the motion. She realized the tempo and sense of pleasure were hers to control and change. It wasn't long before Fourth Dream developed a strong interest in Vaan's body and began exploring different ways of riding his dragon. In that instant, she was like a curious cat trying new things. 1 hour. 2 hours. 3 hours later, Fourth Dream grew increasingly exhausted from her countless orgasms. Even she herself did not understand where all the fluids were gushing out from. How could she have so much fluids in her body? Nevertheless, her bright eyes never lost their spark of curiosity and interest. She continued to ride Vaan's dragon as she tried to get it to unload its accumulated white essence into her refurbished dragon cave, which Vaan had shaped. She realized the peak of pleasure and the sense of fulfillment and satisfaction could only be reached when Vaan's accumulated white essence filled her up. In mere several hours, her hypersensitive body climaxed hundreds of times. Eventually, she exhausted her bodily energy as she sensed it begging her to rest by giving out signals to induce sleep. As such, Fourth Dream did not fight against the increasingly drowsy feeling. She curled up and rested on top of Vaan's chest, and within seconds, she snoozed soundly and comfortably like a purring cat. She might be a divine being, but she was one of the soul and not the body. Thus, she was putting herself in her most vulnerable state in front of Vaan, which was tantamount to the amount of trust she had for him, something she normally only showed to her sisters and her mistress. Ding! You have completed an unassigned subjugation type witch hunt. You have obtained the target's primal essence and dream attribute divine mana. Ding! A new mission has been issued. Mission: collect 10 divine rank primal essences. Upon completion of the mission, you will be able to acquire a random divine rank divine power. Note, the type of divine rank divine power acquired is affected by the divine rank primal essences collected. Current progress: 1 out of 10 divine rank primal essence. Ding! The dream attribute divine mana has been analyzed, and a list of suitable options is available. Please select one of the following options. Option 1, reinforce your soul with dream attribute divine mana and improve your soul force by 100 points. Note, there's a slight chance of developing a dream attribute soul talent. Option 2, reinforce your mana core with dream attribute divine mana and advance your mana cultivation to the mid-stage high warlock rank. Note, there's a slight chance of developing a dream attribute mana core and strengthening all dream attribute spells by 10%. However, spells of other nature will be weakened by 20%. Option 3, feed the dream attribute divine mana to the heaven swallowing space and expand its current subspace by 30%. Note, there may be unexpected gains or nothing at all. Option 4, consume some soul force to create a dream space in the heaven swallowing space to store the dream attribute divine mana for later use. Note, nothing of value to be mentioned. After checking the system log, Vaan could see that Fourth Dream's dream attribute divine mana was far more powerful than any other type of refined mana he had obtained in the past. As expected, the refined divine mana of a divine being was truly stronger than regular refined mana. Although each option was great, Vaan wasn't in a hurry to use the dream attribute divine mana. Thus, he chose the fourth option, to create a dream space in his heaven swallowing space and store it. After all, it only consumed some of his soul force, which could be recovered over time. More importantly, even since he acquired the fourth dimensional sense, he has been able to see more things, including things that were previously hidden from him. After calculating the amount of dream attribute divine mana and its potential effect, he realized it was slightly stronger than the effects listed by the system. In other words, the system had been taxing a portion of the mana for itself. Of course, he was already aware of that long ago, since the system also needed power to operate the changes. However, this time, the system was taxing more than necessary. What changed? There were also some other things on Vaan's mind regarding the system. He believed it was time to find more answers from it. The primal essences of virgin witches could be said to be sources of incredibly concentrated energy in their own right. Furthermore, they would only accumulate with time until they were reaped or lost. As such, Vaan believed there had to be more potent uses for the primal essences than to develop specialized magic and divine power. After all, compared to Fourth Dream's primal essence, which had accumulated energy for thousands of years, the dream attribute divine mana he collected from their dual cultivation would only be considered chump change. More importantly, specialized magic and divine power weren't useful to him at present. As he reached higher levels, they would become even less useful. Furthermore, they were also tedious to acquire. He could just comprehend the relevant laws to develop the desired abilities and divine power. As such, consuming primal essences to acquire specialized magic or divine power didn't seem to be the ideal way of using primal essences, at least for him, that was. His limitless potential allowed him to be this picky. System, primal essence is also a source of energy. It is illogical that it cannot be utilized for self-improvement like mana and only has a singular use. Vaan willed to the system. Ding! Host has made a valid point. The system has detected a flaw in its configuration. Beginning to analyze the problem. Ding! The system analysis is complete. Conclusion, the system's overall design appears to be incomplete. Attempting to bypass the problem by accepting new data from the host. Ding! The divine rank primal essence has been re-evaluated. A new list of options for the divine rank primal essence has been discovered. Option 1, reinforce your soul with the divine rank primal essence and advance your soul force by 2500 points. Option 2, reinforce your mana core with the divine rank primal essence and advance your mana cultivation to the mid-stage transcendent warlock rank. Option 3, feed the divine rank primal essence to heaven swallowing space and expand its current subspace by 300%. Option 4, use the divine rank primal essence to open the lower dantian and initiate your energy cultivation. Ding! An error has been detected. The system does not possess enough divine force to perform some of these options with guaranteed success. Re-evaluating available choices. Ding. Re-evaluation completed. Option 3 is available. After listening to the list of system prompts, Vaan's lips twitched. It went without saying that the third option would be available since it didn't require any effort from the system. Nevertheless, the divine rank primal essence possessed powerful effects, just as he had anticipated. However, he could feel a shred of its energy anywhere, not even inside his heaven-swallowing space. Clearly, the system had its own personal storage space for primal essences. Option 3 is unacceptable. Find alternative methods to increase the success rate of the other options, Vaan willed. Ding. Host command has been acknowledged. Searching for feasible solutions to compensate for the system's insufficient divine force. Ding. The system has determined 2 viable solutions. Solution 1, the system can be upgraded to the second stage and increase its divine force capacity by acquiring 1000 transcendent rank witch souls or 10 divine rank witch souls. Note, witch souls are automatically harvested and acquired through the completion of elimination type witch hunts. Solution 2, achieve greater soul fusion with the system to reach a synchronization rate of 50% and enable the system to borrow soul force from the host. Note, the current synchronization rate is at 1%. Vaan narrowed his eyes. As expected of the witch hunter system, it was originally designed to kill witches and also ensured the quickest improvement. After all, killing a witch would rob their entire cultivation's worth of mana for self-improvement. On the other hand, subjugating a witch would only farm the mana they should have absorbed from the atmosphere. The difference was quite clear. Suddenly, Vaan frowned as he recalled the strange visions of killing Astoria and countless other witches. In those visions, they all died at his hands. However, the him in those visions also seemed like a completely different person. Despite inhabiting the same body, they walked completely different paths. To date, he still couldn't quite figure out why he received such visions. Given the uniqueness of his soul and its past exposure to fourth-dimensional energy, it might be possible for him to have an unawakened ability capable of perceiving his alternative selves in parallel timelines. However, he also felt that possibility was quite unlikely. He knew something was wrong, but he couldn't quite put a finger on it. It was like some force was purposely confusing him to prevent him from uncovering the truth. Nevertheless, even if Vaan had discovered the method to upgrade the system sooner, it wouldn't have been possible for him to accomplish it anyway. He had neither the strength, reason, or numbers to kill so many high-level witches. Although I found out the method to upgrade the system, I lack the conditions to carry it out. On the other hand, Vaan thought about the second solution and frowned. It was impossible for him to follow through on the second solution. He might consider the first solution if circumstances called for it in the future. However, he would never agree to the second solution. The witch hunter system was something he had yet to fully understand, not to mention it was incomplete. Far too many risk factors and limitations were involved in fusing his soul with it. Even now, Vaan already felt the limitations of having the system bound to his soul. After all, he was no longer dependent on the system like he was in the past. He could refine the divine rank primal essence himself if he had it. However, the divine rank primal essence automatically fell into the system's private storage. Moreover, the system was refusing to cough it up. That point alone was enough reason for Vaan to reject the second solution. Dual cultivation with fourth dream netted great gains, but my choices are far more limited than I had hoped. Am I getting greedy for results? Vaan wondered. Shortly after, he returned his attention to the dream attribute divine mana. Although it was a potent resource for reinforcing his soul and mana core, he didn't want either of them to be contaminated with the dream aspect. Thus, he eventually settled for the third option, feeding it to the heaven-swallowing space to expand his storage space by 30%. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Report chapter. Ding. You have fed the divine rank divine mana to heaven-swallowing space. Your heaven-swallowing space has expanded its size by 30%. Vaan didn't think it was a waste to dump all his dream attribute divine mana into the heaven-swallowing space. After all, his mental faculties improved alongside the increasing size of his heaven-swallowing space. Furthermore, Vaan glanced down at Fourth Dream's serene sleeping face before thinking he could always acquire more dream attribute divine mana through dual cultivation. It wasn't easy for Fourth Dream to extricate herself from him after experiencing the magic of copulating with him. Moreover, their dual cultivation benefited her more than it did for him. Fourth Dream herself had yet to realize that she had already advanced to the 8th stage of the divine dream realm and caught up to 7th dream and 9th dream. However, she was bound to find out once she woke up and cleared her mind. Nevertheless, heavenly massage was designed to benefit others. If Vaan wanted to reap more benefits from dual cultivation, he had to get his hands on a true dual cultivation technique or develop one himself. Given his knowledge, creating a dual cultivation technique wouldn't be difficult. However, whether or not its effectiveness could meet his expectations remained to be seen. Sometime later, Vaan shifted his attention to Fourth Dream's pair of baby black-feathered wings. At the start of their dual cultivation, they weren't as small as they appeared now. They had shrunk to improve the comfort of Fourth Dream's sleeping posture. It also seemed to be something she did subconsciously. Vaan wasn't very familiar with the black fairy race. He wondered if they could retract their black-feathered wings into their back completely. If they could, they would be hardly distinguishable from a Darkhan human. He also had strong reasons to believe it was completely possible since their black wings could shrink in the first place. That wasn't something ordinary wings could do, only spirit wings could do so. Vaan reached out for Fourth Dream's baby black wings with his hand as he studied them in greater detail. However, when he contacted them, Fourth Dream's body quickly trembled. She woke up not long after. At first, Fourth Dream was still drowsy. She rubbed her droopy eyes as she looked around. She briefly paused when she made eye contact with Vaan before looking elsewhere, thinking she was imagining things. However, she subconsciously looked back at his close-up handsome face again before she paused for a long time. She was frozen and didn't know what to think. Did I wake you up? I apologize for that, Lady Fourth Dream, Vaan smiled apologetically. In that instant, Fourth Dream's mind rapidly gained clarity as the previous intimate scenes between them came pouring back. She was immediately shocked by her own boldness during those moments. What has she done? How did she gain such courage? More importantly, where did it all go? Sir Vaan, W.E. Fourth Dream stuttered incoherently, at a loss for words. Her face quickly turned red as a tomato. She was both shocked and speechless. Her mistress had instructed her to serve Sir Vaan as she would do for her. It was clear that her mistress held Sir Vaan in the highest regard. Yet, she actually slept with him. If her mistress found out about this, what would she think of her? Would her mistress accuse her of stealing the man she liked? Fourth Dream couldn't help but shiver at the thought. She was afraid of her mistress's wrath. Meanwhile, Vaan observed the chaotic thoughts that raced through Fourth Dream's mind before he confirmed she was back to normal. Pack! Vaan suddenly slapped Fourth Dream's bottom, causing her to squeal in surprise and alarm. Sir Vaan. Fourth Dream cried, staring at him with confusion. Don't overthink things, Lady Fourth Dream. You're only scaring yourself by assuming the worst. We will deal with things as they come, Vaan calmly stated. Although Fourth Dream's mind was still confused, her heart found solace in his calm voice. It was strange, but listening to him helped her calm down and not panic. She suddenly noticed she had this natural tendency to follow anything he said. She shouldn't be this obedient about it. How odd. Nevertheless, Fourth Dream didn't hate this feeling even though she didn't understand it. It just filled her with happiness to be near him or do what he asked. Alas, when she thought about her mistress again, she couldn't help but shiver. We should get dressed quickly, Lady Fourth Dream. Lady Hecate appears to be arriving shortly, Vaan informed. Fourth Dream had only just slightly recovered when she froze in shock again. She slowly craned her neck towards Vaan before asking, What did you say, Sir Vaan? Can you repeat that? Lady Hecate is coming, Vaan stated. He could sense Hecate's presence arriving at the moon colony. It was only a matter of time before she found her way to their location in the unknown subterranean region. No! Fourth Dream screamed in her mind. She quickly panicked, pacing back and forth restlessly, not knowing what to do. She wasn't mentally prepared to face her mistress. Fourth Dream, you with Sir Vaan, right? Where are you two right now? Hecate's cool voice suddenly sounded in Fourth Dream's mind. Fourth Dream jumped in fright. Vaan's gaze followed the up and down motion of her twin peaks before asking with surprise. What's the matter, Lady Fourth Dream? Fourth Dream cried in alarm again. She quickly covered herself with her arms, feeling greatly distressed and uncertain of her priorities. There were so many things happening at once. Ultimately, Vaan and Fourth Dream cleaned themselves and dressed before Hecate's arrival. She became especially determined to hide everything as she was pressed for time. Even so, Fourth Dream was nearly driven to her wits' end when she sensed Hecate's approaching presence. Oh, no. There's still the rock chamber. Fourth Dream suddenly recalled. Her heart tightened. Again just when it was about to relax. Boom. Fourth Dream demolished the rock chamber with her divine power and watched it crumble to the ground. She couldn't rest until she removed every last trace of evidence. Only after the rock chamber was leveled to its surroundings did Fourth Dream dust her hand in satisfaction, softly muttering, that should do it. Should do what, exactly? Fourth Dream? Hecate's curious question shortly sounded behind her. Fourth Dream's satisfied smile stiffened instantly. Previous chapter. Hecate watched Fourth Dream remain unresponsive for several breaths before asking sternly, what's wrong, Fourth Dream? You only left my side for a week, but you already won't listen to me anymore? Mistress. I wouldn't dare. Fourth Dream promptly responded after shivering. That's better, Hecate smiled and no longer pursued the matter. She turned her attention to Vaan and casually commented, you certainly know how to enjoy yourself, Sir Vaan. Fourth Dream's heart immediately tightened, thinking her mistress was aware of the matter between her and Sir Vaan. Nevertheless, Hecate continued, you knew about such an amazing place and didn't think to share with me? How envious. To think I would miss such a pure land during my last visit. Hecate proceeded to gather the pure mana on the tip of her finger and breathe in its breath, taking freshness. She could immediately feel the pure mana invigorating every part of her body. Shortly after, she sighed, however, it's all the more reason to keep this pure land a secret. You are playing a very dangerous game, Sir Vaan. If the other great devils learn about this place, I'm afraid they will go crazy to seize it for themselves, Hecate reminded. Vaan calmly smiled before replying, since the great devils have agreed to give me a chance to join the circle of great devils, it shows they are willing to risk pinning their hopes on my future potential. I have yet to say anything to them dividing up the Evernight territory for themselves since it is ultimately still part of Gehenna. However, this place can only be reached from Pangaea side, and I have already colonized this ownerless region and made it mine. If they dare extend their greed to this place, they have to be prepared to face my wrath, Vaan confidently stated. Hecate couldn't help but smile wryly. If Vaan had already reached rank 6 or even rank 7 divine being, she wouldn't have an opinion on his statement. However, the truth was that he wasn't even a rank 6 divine being yet, but he dared threaten a bunch of peak rank 6 divine beings. Calling him arrogant and foolish would be an understatement. Nevertheless, if there was one thing she figured she understood about Vaan, it was that he didn't make empty promises. Even so, she had no idea what was the source of confidence. As you are now, do you truly believe you are capable of dealing with the other great devils all at once, Sir Vaan? Hecate asked. If I don't care about the consequences, absolutely, Vaan nodded and said, in my previous battle with Abaddon, I learned 2 crucial points. 1, if I really put my all into fleeing, I can't be caught, and 2, my trump card lacks firepower. Hecate frowned before mentioning, I don't see how you can deal with the great devils with that. If anything, you just admitted that you can't deal with them, Sir Vaan. Not at all, Lady Hecate, Vaan shook his head before saying, I do not necessarily need to overpower the great devils in order to deal with them, I just need to be recognized as a deterring force. As I mentioned, if I really give it my all, even divine beings at Abaddon cannot catch me. Since the great devils cannot catch me, they cannot deal with me. Of course, they can deal with the people around me. However, the opposite holds true for them as well. I just need to make them recognize that point clearly if they push me down that path, Vaan stated. Hecate couldn't help but acknowledge his point. She recalled the state Abaddon was driven to, even before she arrived to help. The power that reduced Abaddon to such a sorry state was definitely more than enough to make the great devils wary. For great devils who put great effort into developing their territory and people like herself, they definitely wouldn't want such a destructive power to drop on their prosperous cities and reduce everything to ruins. You can't win against everyone, but everyone can mutually lose, huh? Hecate softly muttered before nodding, if you can really show them you are capable of that, they will not mess with you, Sir Vaan. Of course, it would be best if I don't suffer any losses at all. That includes not revealing my trump card to them, Vaan suddenly said. Hecate frowned before asking with doubt, then, how will you prove that you can be a deterring force not to be trifled with, Sir Vaan? I already am, Lady Hecate. You told me yourself, Vaan calmly stated. Hecate was immediately surprised before furrowing her brows in thought. However, she quickly shook her head and asked, when did I tell you such a thing, Sir Vaan? When you explained the nature of the great devils to me, Lady Hecate. It had me wondering since, Vaan mentioned. After all, the great devils would just kill me if they feared me. However, since they chose to give me a chance, it shows they are fearful yet hopeful of my future. Despite that, they are still bold enough to try and exploit me. What do you think gave them such courage? Vaan asked. Hecate's eyes flickered before saying, they trust that you will be bound by the oath and not do anything to harm the interests of Gehenna should you decide to become a great devil and accept its binding contract. However, you want me to change one of the clauses, don't you? Maybe something like you will be freed from the binding contract if any of the other great devils were the ones to act against the interests of Gehenna. For example, antagonizing you by scheming for your resources, right? Kukuku, if I add such a clause in the contract and show them the recording of you accepting the oath, I believe they might really start behaving more honestly, Hecate chuckled. You certainly caught on quickly, Lady Hecate, Vaan smiled. Indeed, his idea was just as Hecate guessed. It would not only make the great devils mindful of him but also wary of each other's actions against him. Of course, they most definitely wouldn't be happy once they noticed the clause from watching Hecate's recording. Nevertheless, there was also a slight chance that the clause could make the great devils drop the entire matter of allowing him to become a great devil. Although it was only a slight chance, it was still a possibility. As such, Vaan was prepared to increase his trump cards. He had something in mind that could truly threaten the great devils should they make an enemy out of him. However, he had yet to test whether it could be realized. In any case, the ideal situation would be for the great devils to quietly accept the added clause and let me carry on with the trials. I do not wish to be forced to reveal my trump cards or lose anyone if it can be helped, Vaan commented. He understood the risk of adding the clause to the contract, but it had to be done. After all, even if the nihility law could help him break free from the contract, he would be forced into a very passive position if he accepted the oath as it was. The great devils would only keep reaching for a mile after being given an inch if he gave them such an advantage. That would indeed be the ideal situation if it can be helped. I also agree that taking this step is necessary, Hecate acknowledged before adding, a soul master shouldn't be subjected to such unfairness. Unfortunately, fairness does not exist in a world governed by power. My peers don't seem to possess the brightest of minds either, at least, not anymore. The comfort of time must have rotted their brains. I suppose that is why they are all stuck at peak rank 6 divine being, Hecate commented. Vaan glanced at Hecate, who was also stuck at peak rank 6 divine being. However, he was wise enough to avoid making a snide comment on it. Nevertheless, Hecate also realized it, though she had a good reason for it. Moreover, she didn't consider herself to be the same as the other great devils, especially not when rank 7 was just around the corner now. Anyhow, I should give you everything I came to give, Sir Vaan. Then, I will perform the contract creation and recording since you have decided to become a great devil of Gehenna, Hecate stated before withdrawing several items from her silver interspatial ring. At the same time, Vaan's interest was piqued. His eyes quickly locked onto the several items Hecate took out. There were 2 scrolls, a bottle of mixed blood, a few pill recipes, a thick manual, and several dozen vials of special pills and potions. You're giving me all of this, Lady Hecate? Vaan asked with a little surprise. Although the pile of items wasn't a lot, his instincts told him they possessed extraordinary value. That's right, Hecate nodded before introducing the items. You should be familiar with the soul rejuvenating water, so you should understand what these few dozen vials of soul rejuvenating essence and soul rejuvenating pills will do. This manual contains my experience in ancient alchemy and potioneering. These are the 3 recipes for soul force recovery medicine. If you have an interest, you can try learning. These 2 scrolls are bloodline-related divine techniques I have chanced upon in my travels. The divine blood refining art should help you assimilate Abaddon's vampiric bloodline without conflicting with your existing bloodlines. Moreover, the divine blood refining art will also help you cultivate blood and comprehend the blood law, Hecate explained. After speaking up to this point, Hecate hesitated to give Vaan the last scroll and bottle of mixed blood. What about these last 2 items, Lady Hecate? Vaan inquired with growing curiosity. Since Hecate brought them yet felt hesitant to give them, there had to be some extraordinary yet uncertain factors regarding them. This other scroll is something I once took out of my family treasury to study, Hecate mentioned. However, I quickly gave up after realizing it was a broken technique. Supposedly, one of my ancestors obtained from the mysterious primeval secret realm. So, I felt like it would be a waste if I continued to let it gather dust in my storage. I didn't have any luck learning it, but you might be able to unlock its secrets, Sir Vaan. If you succeed in cultivating it, this bottle containing 100 different beast blood essences should aid you a bit, Hecate informed. What is the mysterious primeval secret realm? Vaan asked with interest. That's a good question, Sir Vaan. Even I don't quite know the answer to it, Hecate answered before saying, the mysterious primeval secret realm is probably one of Chaos's greatest mysteries. It's a secret realm that opens randomly in all kinds of places in Chaos. It doesn't seem to have any pattern to its opening time and location. However, it would create a great buzz throughout Chaos each time it opens. This is because it is filled with divine arts and cultivation techniques from a very distant era, so distant that people believed it to be the very first era of Chaos, the primal Chaos era, Hecate said. Is that so? Vaan uttered thoughtfully. After listening to Hecate's words, his interest only grew. The moment he accepted the scroll, he opened it up for a quick read. Surprisingly, he understood every character record on it. No doubt, the scroll wasn't an original copy but the translation Hecate transcribed for him. The everlasting blood mantra? Vaan furrowed his brows after reading the name of the ancient technique. Despite being a transcribed copy of the original version, he could sense the unfathomable primordial aura emanating from it. How could it possess such ancientness when he could still smell the fresh ink? How peculiar. Vaan uttered in wonder before asking considerately, do you mind if I give this a read, Lady Hecate? It seems the everlasting blood mantra has attracted your interest. Please take your time to read it. I'm also interested in hearing your thoughts on it later, Sir Vaan, Hecate replied. Vaan nodded. Shortly after he read the scroll, he couldn't help but feel shocked at the everlasting blood mantra. Was this really a cultivation technique from primordial times? Maybe it was a broken technique like Hecate said. The core concept of the everlasting blood mantra was to create an immortal and indestructible blood by refining the blood essence of countless different species. Upon mastering the everlasting blood mantra, the cultivator was said to be able to fully revive even if they only had single drop of blood of their being remaining in existence. The potential supplementary uses of the technique were also outrageous. According to the everlasting blood mantra, reviving diluted yet powerful bloodlines was possible. So long as the powerful bloodlines once existed within certain species, the user could locate them and strengthen them with the everlasting blood mantra. Even if only a single blood essence of that bloodline remained in the body, it was said that the everlasting blood mantra could easily locate it. In other words, even if the target was only some commonly found house rat, as long as it was a descendant of some rat god, the everlasting blood mantra could pinpoint the source of its rat god bloodline and strengthen it in folds through the continuous blood refinement of its rat god blood essence. Nevertheless, the everlasting blood mantra was only most effective on beast bloodlines due to their inherent traits to record ancestral memories in their blood. Honestly, the technique seemed far too powerful to be true. After all, if Vaan could successfully cultivate it, he would be able to strengthen the Red Dragon clan's Fire Dragon God bloodline and not worry about depleting the reserve of the Fire Dragon God's blood essence. This technique seems a little too outrageous, does it not? If something like this was legit, it has to be the technique of some primordial god of blood. Vaan commented. In Pangaea, the god term was loosely used to refer to any rank 6 divine being. However, a true god was far more powerful than that, only a rank 11 divinity would be called a true god. A primordial god normally referred to such a being or above. It indeed seems that way. However, my ancestors still obtained it from the mysterious primeval secret realm. So, there must be something special about it. Unfortunately, I have both failed to cultivate it and learn its secrets, Hecate said self-deprecatingly. Lady Hecate, you mentioned that the denizens of Chaos believed the mysterious primeval secret realm came from the very first era, the primal Chaos era? Vaan mentioned. That's right, Sir Vaan, Hecate nodded. If the everlasting blood mantra truly came from the primal chaos era, could the heavenly laws of chaos have changed since then, causing the technique to work no longer as intended? Vaan guessed. I've also thought that might be the case, but I never really had the opportunity to verify its possibility until now. Honestly, I've also completely forgotten about it until very recently, Sir Vaan, Hecate smiled wryly. There was a time when she studied the everlasting blood mantra intensively in order to surpass the limitation of her soul. However, she had already given up on it. Furthermore, she was currently focused on the nihility law. After all, its concept had already shown her the path to rank 7. As such, it was a bigger priority than the everlasting blood mantra. Maybe it was destiny that led me to give the everlasting blood mantra to you, Sir Vaan, Hecate casually said. Perhaps, Vaan uttered, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Shortly after storing all his gifts, he asked, are we conducting the contract ceremony now, Lady Hecate? Hecate immediately looked offended as she gasped, are you in such a hurry to get rid of me, Sir Vaan? I did say I would perform it after passing you the gifts, but it didn't have to be literally after. I came bearing such great gifts, but you won't even show me the least bit of hospitality? My, this saddens me quite a bit, Hecate said exaggeratedly. Vaan smiled wryly, pointing out, even if I wish to show you my hospitality, I'm afraid there isn't much to show around here, Lady Hecate. There was nothing but hard layers of rocks around them. Maybe if they returned to the moon colony, he could at least treat her to some dry biscuits and clean water. However, that would be the extent of it. After all, only a small part of the moon colony was recently rebuilt, and it was still far from a luxury stay. As such, how could it possibly match the standards of a great devil such as Hecate? Indeed, there aren't any fancy restaurants or cafes around here. Not even a single scenery or piece of entertainment. However, staying in this pure land is still far better than any developed city I know of, Hecate smiled before adding, moreover, I'm only asking to stick around for a bit. You see, I'm quite curious to watch how you bullied my dreamcatchers, Sir Vaan. They don't even know how to greet me after seeing me anymore, Hecate sulked as she glanced in a particular direction. In that instant, the space twisted before 7th dream and 9th dream emerged from their dream field, dropping to their knees. Mistress, we were wrong. 7th dream and 9th dream pleaded guilty. Evidently, they had been hiding in the area since Hecate arrived. No, they had been hiding in the area even before she arrived. Nevertheless, Vaan already knew about their presence. Thus, he didn't pay them any mind. Whatever could you mean by bullying them, Lady Hecate? On the contrary, I think I've been treating them quite well, if I had to say so myself, Vaan smiled shamelessly before commenting, it's strange, though. Is that a hint of jealousy in your tone I sense, Lady Hecate? You must be imagining things, Sir Vaan, Hecate coolly played before turning to her dreamcatchers. You three, line up here right now. Why yes, mistress, the 3 dreamcatchers quickly answered. Even 4th dream was no exception. She joined up with 7th dream and 9th dream despite feeling great fear in facing her mistress. None of them dared to make eye contact due to their guilt. 4th dream felt even greater pressure when Hecate gave everyone a sweeping hard look. Looks like you have all made improvements in your cultivation, Hecate nodded with approval before asking, so, who wants to return to Dream Dust territory? Surprisingly, all 3 dreamcatchers hesitated to answer. Although they missed their home, they were reluctant to return so soon. What is this? Feeling reluctant to return already? Hecate slyly smiled, mentioning, I still remember how unwilling you all looked when I instructed you 3 to stay behind. The 3 dreamcatchers immediately felt ashamed. Indeed, they couldn't deny it, even though they were afraid to admit it. Are you seeing this, Sir Vaan? If you hadn't bullied them, how could they not dare to even look me in the eye? Hecate mentioned. Vaan was suddenly amused. Although they both knew exactly why the 3 dreamcatchers were behaving as such, Hecate wasn't willing to admit defeat and stubbornly claimed he bullied them. I am seeing, all right. However, I don't believe we are seeing the same thing, Lady Hecate, Vaan softly chuckled before cheekily saying, to me, it looks like you are the one bullying them since you have just lectured them. But let's say I did bully them, Lady Hecate. What will you do after knowing that? Do you wish to be bullied, too? Vaan asked roguishly. The 3 dreamcatchers couldn't help but gasp in shock at his boldness immediately. Who did he think he was talking to? Nevertheless, Hecate did not appear offended. On the contrary, her heart slightly shook with embarrassment. Even so, she maintained her composure on the surface. Hecate's nose twitched before she looked away. It seems I am no match for your shamelessness, Sir Vaan. That's a direction I'm unwilling to accompany you down. So, I will concede defeat in that regard, Hecate coolly stated. At the same time, she felt confused. She suddenly wasn't sure what she was aiming for in their conversation. Maybe she wasn't even aiming for anything? Or perhaps she was just expecting a little something back for everything she had given? She wasn't actually feeling envious and just wanted to express it, did she? Hecate wasn't sure what she was feeling and suddenly felt lost. Let's be honest, Lady Hecate, Vaan chuckled and said, you already knew what you were exposing them to when you decided to leave them with me. Thus, you shouldn't be feeling salty about a decision you made, don't you think? When Vaan said this, it wasn't for Hecate to hear but for 4th dream, who felt conflicted over what happened between them. That's true, Hecate thoughtlessly acknowledged with a nod before saying, however, I still feel like I've suffered a big loss. Is that so? Vaan smiled slightly before shamelessly saying, unfortunately, I am poor, so I'm afraid I don't have much to make up for your loss. However, feel free to stay and use this pure land anytime you wish, Lady Hecate. That is what you said, Sir Vaan. You can't go back on your word, all right? Hecate replied with a bright smile. I am a man of my word, Lady Hecate, Vaan smiled back wryly. Was that what Hecate was after? His verbal consent to her using the subterranean region of pure mana? Did he misread her intention? Vaan started to doubt. Nevertheless, shortly after shaking his head, Vaan said, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave and not take up any more of your precious time to enjoy this pure land, Lady Hecate. Where are you going, Sir Vaan? Hecate casually inquired. To cultivate this everlasting blood mantra in a suitable place, of course. I can't exactly do that here, can I? Vaan replied. Since he had already been told that Hecate failed to cultivate the everlasting blood mantra during her time studying it, he figured it was because the conditions weren't right. If he guessed correctly, he had to cultivate the everlasting blood mantra in a world with heavenly laws similar to the world of the primal chaos era before chaos was formed. In other words, he just had to go to a world that had yet to be part of chaos. Although he couldn't be certain that he would successfully cultivate the everlasting blood mantra, he figured making the attempt in his original world would still give him a higher chance than in the subterranean region, which was part of chaos. I see. I wish you the best of luck, Sir Vaan, Hecate sincerely prayed. She had a strong urge to follow him and observe his attempt at cultivating the everlasting blood mantra. However, she knew better than to disturb someone cultivating. Thank you, Lady Hecate, Vaan nodded. Shortly after Vaan left for the dimensional crack and returned to the side of the moon colony, Hecate calmly shook her head. She suddenly recalled that Vaan did not ask her about the 100 types of blood in the blood bottle she gave him. Did he trust her that much? Nevertheless, she hoped he wouldn't be too disappointed in the quality of the blood essences she provided. After all, the everlasting blood mantra did not have any demands on the quality of the blood essences, they only needed to be from different types of beings, ideally beasts. Fourth dream, Hecate suddenly uttered. Why yes, mistress. Fourth dream nervously answered after a moment of fright. She felt like she was about to receive her death sentence. However, Hecate softly said, you can relax. I don't understand why you are all so afraid of me. It's not like any of you did something wrong, right? The three dream catchers did not know how to answer their mistress. However, they did feel fortunate that they were facing her good side and not her bad side. Hecate sighed before saying, I left you three with Sir Vaan so you would encounter opportunities while following him. On that note, none of you have disappointed me. You three have reached the 8th stage of the divine dream realm in such a short time. That is something worth celebrating and to be proud of. So, why do you all look guilty? Ask yourself, have you really done something wrong? If you truly believe so, now is the chance to confess, Hecate calmly stated. After a moment of silence, Ninth Dream hesitantly confessed, Mistress, I have been peeking at Sir Vaan doing the nasties with several women. And what is wrong with that? Hecate calmly asked. Pardon? Ninth Dream felt her mind short-circuited. She didn't expect her mistress to be so nonchalant about it. I saw something I wasn't meant to see. Ninth Dream answered unconfidently. Something you weren't meant to see, huh? Hecate smiled amusedly and asked, and what exactly weren't you meant to see, Ninth Dream? I sent you three to protect Sir Vaan. You three knew that. Sir Vaan also knew that. Thus, whatever Sir Vaan did with his women, he should have expected you three to see it as well. So, if anything, it's not that you saw something you weren't meant to see but Sir Vaan being a shameless exhibitionist. Let me ask you something, did Sir Vaan strictly tell you not to spy on his private business with his women but you did it anyway? Hecate asked. Ninth Dream opened her mouth, but no words came out. She was unable to refute and even felt speechless. She realized her mistress had made a very reasonable point. It even made her feel dumb for thinking she had done wrong. Previous chapter. Next chapter. When Ninth Dream also recalled that Sir Vaan could see through their invisibility, she realized he had been teasing them by taking advantage of their innocence and naivety. As their mistress said, Sir Vaan did bully them. It was no wonder he could accurately guess when they were playing cards in their dream field. Ninth Dream and Seventh Dream couldn't help but feel their faces turning red-hot with shame and embarrassment when they thought about Sir Vaan watching them pruning their flower gardens. They felt so overwhelmed by the revelation, but they couldn't even get angry at Sir Vaan for it. After all, he wouldn't have seen their flower gardens if they had not acted shamefully in the first place. Sir Vaan, Ninth Dream covered her red face and said resentfully yet coyly, he is so bad. No, he is a bad scoundrel. Seventh Dream corrected her statement, feeling similarly abashed. Meanwhile, Fourth Dream had a dumbfounded look. After seeing her mistress's perspective, her greatest fear quickly disappeared. However, in its place came many questions and doubts related to her own heart. She had lost her innocence to Sir Vaan. Although she didn't feel regretful over what happened, she still felt a sense of loss. After all, she wasn't sure what she was to Sir Vaan and where she stood between him and her mistress. At the same time, she didn't understand her mistress's intention either. Mistress, there's something I don't understand. If you knew what you were getting us into, why did you still push us to Sir Vaan's side? Fourth Dream asked doubtfully. When Seventh Dream and Ninth Dream heard that question, they also perked their ears to listen. After all, it was a very good question. Did their mistress want them to be bullied by a big bad wolf from the start? Nevertheless, in the face of that question, Hecate calmly smiled before saying, "Before that, why don't you three answer my question first? Why don't you three want to return to the dream dust territory with me yet?" The three dream catchers immediately fell silent. In their hearts, they also asked themselves the same question: why didn't they want to return yet? At first, they truly wished to return to the comfort of their home. However, after several days following Sir Vaan, they were indeed feeling reluctant to leave so soon. Furthermore, it wasn't because they grew fond of Sir Vaan or anything. Instead, it was because there always seemed to be something exciting or new for them to learn around Sir Vaan. Their hearts had never experienced so many chaotic storms of emotions when they spent their days back in the dream dust territory. Maybe the thrills drew them to stay. Of course, the Pure Land was another big reason. Nevertheless, Hecate didn't wait too long for the dream catchers to answer before she provided one for them. "You are reluctant to leave because it has been fun, has it not? Being around Sir Vaan is quite exciting compared to the dull life you have all been living up until now. Can any of you say with certainty that this wasn't the case?" Hecate confidently asked. "No. You are right, mistress," Seventh Dream acknowledged before saying, "although it had been embarrassing and shameful most of the time, it has truly been fun." "Are we actually masochists for feeling this way?" Seventh Dream doubted shortly after. "Not at all," Hecate calmly shook her head before explaining, "you are experiencing the long overdue feelings of living, and there is nothing wrong with wanting to live with more vibrant colors. After all, we are living beings, not puppets with stone hearts. However, due to the place where we mostly cultivate our dream power, we are subjected to the development of the frigid heart, which dulls our emotions and suppresses our feelings. I have practically raised all of you and see you as my children. That's why I had hoped that by pushing you three to Sir Vaan's side, you could all become more normal children and not heartless puppets who only know how to do my bidding," Hecate stated. "Mistress." The three dream catchers immediately felt touched by Hecate's words. Little did they know that while Hecate's words were mostly true, she did not mention she had an ulterior motive for doing so as well. In truth, she was also using them to tie Vaan to her side. Alas, her honey trap plan would have backfired if she did feel jealous over it. Meanwhile, in the Sea of Stars, several hundred kilometers away from the moon, Vaan prepared to cultivate the everlasting blood mantra in the void of space, away from the influence of chaos and its mana. He couldn't help but possess a sense of expectation. After all, cultivating the everlasting blood mantra would grant him stronger regenerative abilities. If it could augment his bloodline's existing power of regeneration, it would increase his survivability. The everlasting blood mantra was divided into 6 stages. The first stage of regeneration required 10 origin blood, the second stage of rejuvenation required 100 origin blood, the third stage of reparation required 1,000 origin blood, the fourth stage of regrowth required 10,000 origin blood, the fifth stage of revival required 100,000 origin blood, and finally, the sixth stage of everlasting required 1,000,000 origin blood. Refining a single type of blood essence according to the everlasting blood mantra would create a single origin blood. Thus, he needed the blood essence of 1,000,000 different species to achieve complete mastery. Even if Vaan scoured the entire planet of Pangaea, he wasn't confident if he would even reach 10,000 origin blood on his own. After all, if a blue rabbit, red rabbit, and black rabbit alone could already give him 3 origin blood, then reaching 1,000,000 origin blood didn't seem too difficult. However, how could the ancient technique of a primordial god be so easy to master? It was more likely that the different species of rabbit shared the same ancestry. In that case, Vaan would only acquire the same origin blood multiple times. He realized the everlasting blood mantra was lacking in some areas of its details. Nevertheless, all answers will be revealed to him once he starts cultivating the technique. I should be able to reach the second stage of rejuvenation with this bottle of blood essence, right? Vaan mused. Nevertheless, before Vaan could even cultivate the everlasting blood mantra, he had already realized the first problem: how could he refine blood essence into origin blood if he couldn't even manipulate the blood? The everlasting blood mantra explained the how of refining blood essence into origin blood but not the what of refining. Is comprehending the blood law an unstated prerequisite to cultivating the everlasting blood mantra? Vaan frowned in wonder. However, he felt like there was a problem with this line of thought. After all, it was like saying that in order to learn how to become a blood immortal, one had to be a blood immortal already. Maybe the everlasting blood mantra is only suitable for a certain blood race? Vaan guessed. However, he quickly scratched the idea. After all, Hecate had already told him she had given up because it was a broken technique for her. In other words, she failed to produce any desirable result, as recorded in the everlasting blood mantra. Even if she wasn't compatible with the technique, she should have been able to refine the origin blood. However, since that wasn't the case, suitability wasn't the issue but something else. Vaan couldn't control blood, but he could control pure mana. Thus, he could try using pure mana to manipulate the blood essence and refine it into origin blood. However, this alternative method was also problematic since the pure mana came from chaos. It might not produce the desired result recorded in the everlasting blood mantra. Furthermore, Hecate must have already tried using mana to guide the refinement of blood essence into origin blood. Nevertheless, Vaan decided to give it a test run since Hecate didn't use pure mana. It might discover a different result. Ding! You have successfully increased the blood potency of the snow tiger blood essence. Low-rank Snow Tiger Blood Essence has become mid-rank Snow Tiger Blood Essence. After Vaan withdrew a drop of blood essence from the blood bottle and refined it with pure mana, he received a positive result. However, it wasn't the desired result. Blood essence didn't turn into origin blood. Well, that was to be expected. Vaan thought. He had already predicted the same result in his mind. The practical experiment only confirmed it. Since that was the case, he decided to review what he knew. If the everlasting blood mantra came from the primal chaos era, where chaos and mana had yet to exist, the primordial beings of that time must have relied on another source of energy to refine the blood essence. Something more primitive but natural. After a little bit of thinking, Vaan was quickly enlightened to the answer. The truth had been quite simple from the start. However, it had been buried by circumstances. Most denizens of chaos probably wouldn't know of its existence since the overabundance of mana had replaced it. On the other hand, every living being on Pangaea was stripped of it by an unknown force. Spirit energy. Suddenly, Vaan couldn't help but feel amused. Hecate had dismissed the value of divine energy. Yet, little did she know that it was required to cultivate the everlasting blood mantra that she failed to study. Despite her great wisdom, such a simple truth had completely eluded her eyes for so many years because she was a denizen of chaos. Even he would have missed the answer had he not been enlightened to some knowledge about the divine realm. I don't have spirit energy, but I do have a lot of divine energy, its higher form. However, I still need some foundation in energy cultivation before I can officially start cultivating the everlasting blood mantra. But while I do know the true divinity rank energy cultivation method of an Empyrean god, it's not really suitable for me. Vaan frowned. Empyrean Scarletzia's true divinity rank energy cultivation method was too heavily aligned with the fire element. On the other hand, his past lives were that of a heavenly god of space and the lord of the boundless seas and skies. Furthermore, he had also dabbled in fire and earth in his present life. In other words, he had a connection to all 5 elements. He had messed around with too many elements to be singularly devoted to fire. Fortunately, the element specialization aspect of energy cultivation wasn't a concern until after the 4th realm of energy cultivation, the Heaven Ascension Realm. The Energy Gathering Realm, Spirit Condensation Realm, Revolving Core Realm, and Heaven Ascension Realm are mainly about accumulating spirit energy and transforming them through the 3 states of gas, liquid, and solid. If I refine divine energy, I will most likely reach Heaven Ascension Realm extremely quickly. That should be more than enough spiritual control to cultivate the everlasting blood mantra. As for what comes after the Heaven Ascension Realm, I may have to devise my own energy cultivation method if I can't find a suitable one within a year. Vaan decided. The 5th realm of the energy cultivation system, the Truth Manifestation Realm, was special because it was the first aspect of element specialization. It was also the most important realm in energy cultivation. After all, a cultivator's entire future was centered around the type of elements they comprehended during truth manifestation. Suppose their comprehension was too poor to comprehend any laws. In that case, they may not even be able to set foot into the Truth Manifestation Realm. The relationship between the heavenly laws and truth manifestation was like water and a plant seed. Without any watering, the plant seed would not have much hope of germinating. Should Heaven Ascension Realm cultivators fail to enter truth manifestation, their only hope of continuing cultivation would be to shatter their core and enter the void realm. Although truth manifestation and void cultivators could both enter the divine realm, the difference between their power and lifespan would be like heaven and earth. Of course, Vaan was completely confident in entering the truth manifestation realm. However, there was still a difference in how perfectly it could be done. Ding! Rich amounts of divine energy detected. Would you like to open the lower dantian and initiate energy cultivation? Shortly after Vaan took out a divine energy crystal from his heaven-swallowing space, the system prompted him. Yes. Previous chapter. Next chapter.